So today, Andy Burnham has posted that he wants to give 14-year-olds an opportunity to leave school with skills and training, in trades, which is a laudable thing that should have been done probably 40 years ago. The problem is you're failing to address the elephant in the room. Problem that we have now is that the economy can't support the current crop of children and young adults who are leaving college with double diplomas. You know what I mean? Like, and then they're having come out of college, be told by benefit advisors up and down the country that there are no jobs for them, even though they've studied for, in the case of a couple of kids I know, in excess of 6 years to get a set of diplomas. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about from when they were in school, from their GCSEs up to the college level, which is diploma, which is approximately 3 years each. You know what I mean? And and just think to myself, yeah, Burnham, you're not living in any sphere of reality, are you? Because you know, no trade would realistically want to employ anybody at this point because we can barely earn enough money to support ourselves and pay our bills and pay our 1K rent a month. You know what I mean? Most people who run a business, you know, they don't have a lot of money, you know what I mean? And that's been the way for the last 20 years. It's very hard to, get up, a large amount of money while you're self-employed. I know I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed for years, and I'm telling you now, the majority of people are just struggling to put bread on the table. You know what I mean? After a K's worth of rent, so you know there's only so much work you can do in a day, you know what I mean? And then there's only so much work you can do in a month. And what I've learned is that each trade, and I think a lot of trades will tell you this, right, are finding that, the economics don't match the reality or the portrayed reality you would like to present. Unfortunately, NI is too high, and national insurance is something that we would have to pay. Would be an additional cost to hiring young people. It's a barrier. It's not a help. It's a hindrance. Nobody's going to hire someone on top of an NI bill that high. There's also the pay as well. Doesn't scale because, like as I said, as a single self-employed person, there's only so much work you can physically do before you're haggard. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if you're, I don't know, 20 to 60, you could probably do a good 10-hour day before you really start to feel haggard. But how much are you going to earn in that 10-hour day? Now, depending on the trade, obviously your rates are different, right? But the most you're really going to earn from one job is about like a K, you know what I mean? Like, and that would be a really good job, like the cream of the crop, the rare job, you know what I mean? And I mean, if it's a big job of like a big job, you might earn a couple of K, you know what I mean? I'm not disputing that you can earn a couple of K, but those are what I call whales, jobs that come along once a year, if that, right? So, right, the reality of the situation is most self-employed people are stuck earning 12,500 a year before tax. Most people are now cottoning on to the fact that it's just not worth earning more than 12,500 because you're just going to get taxed the earth on it. So most people just earn that and then don't bother working for the rest of the year. It's not that we can't get work, it's more a case of why would I want to earn more money only to pay tax on it and not keep what I've earned? I would then be working to fund the government. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not funding this government. I'm sorry. I don't think anyone self employed is going to fund this government. And it's not because we don't want to, it's because you're not living in a sphere of reality that everybody exists in. You know what I mean? So it's very laudable for you to say, oh, well, I want to give skills and training to young people. Oh, yes, I'm going to give all these skills and training to young people. Well, do you know what? You're not going to do very much of that, really, are you?
Because most kids have already got a double diploma and they can't get a job. Well, what are you going to do about that? What are we going to do, Paul? Well, I don't know. What are we going to do, Paul? What are we going to do? I don't know, Ringo. What are we going to do? That's exactly what Labour is. They're like the three fucking, what are they, vultures at the end of Jungle Book. Andy Burnham is like one of the three vultures at the end of fucking Jungle Book. That's what you like. What are we gonna do, Paul? Well, I don't know, Ringo. What we're gonna do? You know what I mean? That's all you've got. That is all you've got. You don't know what you're doing. You're thick as fuck. It's embarrassing. You need to stop speaking in these soundbite videos, this bullshit propaganda that nobody is listening to. Nobody cares, right? So let's take it from the top. Self-employed people are not going to employ other people if there's no profit in it for them. I've done like a working schematic of how much it would cost for me to employ my own son. Right, he has actually got a double diploma in computer game design. Right, you know what I mean? Like he's probably one of the smartest people I know. Even if he doesn't want to do game design, he could easily go and work in a job using computers somewhere in the UK. Right. The problem is you have fucked his life up. All of you, Labour, Conservatives, you fucked his life up. Why? Because you've let too many foreigners into this country and they're taking up the jobs that he would do, like he's qualified to do. And I'm like, and I don't mind people coming here. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if you've got a legitimate reason or you've got proper skills, you come here and work. But you've let too many in, and that's the problem, right? You're not going to solve the skills gap or the education gap because I'm going to be honest, there's not enough room in trade jobs to fit youngsters in because most of the trade jobs are being taken up by foreigners who are, having come here and been unable to get a job in the PAYE market. You know what I mean? They're now trying to get jobs in the self-employed market. So there'll be no room for these kids that you're going to get jobs for or you're going to give skills and training to. So you're just going to end up in the same situation with the kids with double diplomas because, yeah, they'll have the qualifications, but in trades and whatnot. But the problem is, there's no jobs for them. Right? Now, what you've forgotten is the economy doesn't match. It's very hard, you know what I mean, to earn money in Britain right at the moment because there's just too many options for people to choose from. So you've got too many trades, you know what I mean? And a lot of people are coming into trades like window cleaning, painting, decorating, bricklaying, patios, driveways, people who lay these things, building work, general labouring, things like that, you know what I mean? Roofing even, right? Handymen. Fucking like I could go on. There's a list of things I could go on with, right? Those industries, you know what I mean, or those markets are now rammed with foreigners that are trying to fake it till they make it, not doing a very good job and ruining the jobs that they do. And then you've got, people like us, like me, who have to go around policing up that work and trying to fix it. And it costs us thousands of pounds to fix the damage that they do to people's property. You know what I mean? You know, it's very hard in that sort of environment to earn a solid income. So an example is you might clean windows for 2 weeks, every month and you'll barely earn a grand doing that, right? And then on top of that, the rest of the month you'll do gutter cleaning, driveway cleaning, painting, decorating, roofing, you know what I mean? All these other jobs just to cover the shortfall, right? And you might only get one or two of those jobs, right? So say maybe you get two or three gutter cleans, right? So and then there are bigger companies who are doing more and they're taking up a larger share of the work that's available. But the problem is, people on the lower end of the scale are competing with people who do it for cheap. Bob down the pub who charged a tenner to empty the gutters. You know what I mean? You're competing against that, and they haven't even done a very good job of it. You know what I mean? You can send a drone up and have a look in someone's gutters to see if they've been cleaned, which is what I have to do occasionally.
You know what I mean? And you can just see all the dirt that they've left behind, all the bricks, all the mortar, all the dust. You know what I mean? They've not done a very good job. You know what I mean? So as an exterior cleaner, I just sit here and I think, wow, you know what? Yeah, it's not really realistic for you to sit there and say you're going to give kids skill of 14 skills and training for a market that's already rammed and overloaded with immigrants, and the British lads are just trying really hard to sort of clean up the mess they make. You know what I mean? Why are we going to employ people when we can barely earn enough to realistically pay rent, which is a K a month now, pay food bills, which is £150 a week. You know what I mean? Pay energy bills, which is literally blooming what it was about 100 quid a week per energy bill now. You know what I mean? Like you're living in cloud cuckoo land, mate. You need to address the real issues. And I've said this before, and I feel like a broken record, and you're too dumb to understand it with your oh, what are we gonna do, Paul? Attitude, right? You just don't get it, do you? You're thick as shit, right? Right? What we're gonna do, Paul? Well, I don't know. What we're gonna do, Paul? Hey, David Lammy, what we gonna do? Well, I don't know, Burnham. I just don't know. It could be one or two or three things, and all of them are gonna be shit. You know what I mean? Like you just don't fucking have a clue, right? You you, you need to understand. Council tax needs to be scrapped. You can't replace it with a value out annual tax. That won't work, right? You need to bring all the pricing indexes down and lock them and fix them in place. And I'm talking about houses need to come down in price because they're not worth more than 20k per property at purchase level. It's four walls and a roof. It needs to be obtainable within a person's lifetime, right? And currently, £250,000, £350,000 is just not obtainable in someone's lifetime. Rentals need to be capped at 500 a month, right? To give people the opportunity to save enough money to buy a house. You know what I mean? I would be happy to go and pay 20 grand to buy a house outright. You know what I mean? I want to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people in the country want to be able to do that. It's not worth more than the value of the most expensive car. You know what I mean? Oh, average. Well, it's the most expensive average sort of car. You know what I mean? Which is 20 grand, right? That's what a house is worth. That's it. It's not worth anything more to the average man, right? No one in their right mind, no one with a brain is going to give all their money to paying for a house, or to to put all their money into a mortgage, and if the mortgage they can't pay the mortgage, you don't get your money back. So why would you waste all your life savings on that? It's a bad deal. I mean, and it just proves that house prices are just way too high. Need to come down. So on top of that, you need to cap all the billing, right? And I'm talking about really harsh caps, man. They need to be no more than £300 per bill, or maybe two to £300 per bill per year per household, with no movement on that. And it needs to be locked in place for a period of at least 20 years, because unfortunately, people in this country are habitually poor. You talk about people who have got accumulated wealth. They might have assets, they might have a bit of money saved by, maybe they've got 30, 40 grand in the bank, right? But they're not spending it. Do you want to know why they're not spending it? Because there's nothing they can invest their money in. They can't just go out and buy a house. It's not worth them putting it into a mortgage. It's not worth them spending the money. They may as well die and pass it on to their kids, because that's the only option they've got left. Swindle it all the way down to 20 grand and pass 20 grand on to your kids. That is the future of this country. If you don't take action and get rid of council tax and stop trying to replace it, because the majority just don't pay it. And that's a sad fact. I'm sorry, but the public are awake now, right? We've been awake for the last 30, 40 years, right? We're not going to pay you taxes anymore. Most people are going out of their way to avoid paying taxes. And you're just going to breed another generation of children, 14, 15-year-olds, who get this training, and they're going to get into work, and they're going to go, I don't want to pay all this money to you. You know what I mean? Once they realise how fucking utterly morally bankrupt the government is, they will just not pay you. So that's all you're going to do. You're going to cause resentment, and you've made all these big bold statements as you have in the past. and none of them are true. You have no mandate. You have no plan. You have a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of lies, hyperbolic language. You reckon you're going to make changes. You've got no changes to make until you address the elephants in the room. And that is taxes need to start being scrapped, capped, reworked, and brought down to realistically obtainable levels. Because I feel like right now we're just living in the jungle, but you know what I mean? Blue Bear's gonna come running out with a fucking with a fucking pineapple and a fucking load of fucking yams, you know what I mean? And we're all gonna sit there and fucking sing songs. That ain't happening, man. You're living in a complete fantasy. And your denials and refusal to deal with the issues that I've raised, and I think millions of people have raised, pretending that the problems are other things when they're not, they're exactly these things that I've mentioned. They're the problems, right? The longer that goes on, the denial of dealing with it and the refusal to deal with it, the worse things are going to get. And it's going to compound into a situation where people will straight up come down to wherever you are, pick you up, and put you in a cell, Mr. Burnham, because that's where you belong. That's where a lot of you MPs belong, right? You're really lucky that the people in this country have given you so much rope, but I don't think you've got much rope left.